pointers, then I'll compile it later. So,
I believe you have been attending a lot of seminars.
it's been a while. Yeah, I was attending up till say July, August, and then it's been a break. So I'll touch base on all of that today. It's not about PPT, but uh, let's see what we can learn together. So, so first of all, when we are talking of capacity building, as things have been discussing around all over the place, so let's just reiterate what are we expecting when we talk about capacity building. So first of all, of course, what is it that we are learning with each session, with each activity that we do? That's the first and foremost. Further, what kind of knowledge are we gaining, or what kind of knowledge we are imparting to others is the second important piece. Third is what kind of skills have we acquired apart from the ones which we were already learning and acquiring from our job or day-to-day work as a teacher. Thirdly, development in a positive way should happen. It's not that whatever we do should lead to a negative side. Whatever we are learning should be a positive thing. And further, with each other's support and guidance, we can together make this capacity building session a valuable one for each one of us. So, keeping this thought in mind, my uh, first talk or first sharing of ideas is on the theme of how to teach poetry in classroom. This was one of the sessions which I had attended, which was organized by Collins India. Although they were focusing upon poetry in general, how do you write it? How should one generate interest in poetry? What is the purpose of poetry and things like that? But I have picked up only that portion which is relevant to us when it comes to teaching poetry in classroom. They were not targeting any board or specifically any Indian education system, but there were certain pointers I think which we can deliberate upon, which I didn't agree with when they were discussing this in the webinar. So these were the three main points on which their webinar was based. First is what is special about poetry. Second is how do we help learners appreciate poems? And third is how do we develop their creative writing skills? So it was about an hour-long session where these 3 points were touched base with. So before I start, I would like to ask you all, what do you think is so special about poetry?
A lot said in very few words.
Okay. Anybody
Okay, the use of the poetic devices makes the meaning much more appreciative of the meaning. The meaning is sent across.
Yeah, and just the fact that there's a rhythm to it, all right? It's lyrical rather than being prosaic as in prose.
Absolutely.
So that's another special feature.
Absolutely. Any other idea that you can think of when you think of poetry? And not just as language teachers, but generally as readers of poems or otherwise, recalling from your earliest experience of poems.
So, if we think of writing in blank verse or free verse, it the appreciation, the beauty of the poem is lost. I mean, you do need a rhythm meter, your whatever your iambic pentameter or the poetic devices used, the rhyming words, they all matter while writing a poetry. It doesn't, no, you can't write just two pieces of lines and call it poetry.
Okay.
You need polishing, further polishing. It is not a one-time effort.
Okay. Any other opinion or idea which anybody would like to share?
At times, you know what you're trying to convey, you cannot find the words, or the words are not good enough to describe that feeling. So when you use poetic devices, something gets conveyed which is not clearly stated, yet your association with that simile or a metaphor makes the meaning much more deeper, much more than what you can express in words.
Absolutely.
So that is what I like about poetry.
Absolutely. Jyotin ma'am, any last thought before I further?
Okay, of course, Padmini ma'am did say that it's made rich with the use of literary devices and figures of speech. I particularly wanted to make a mention of personification. So through poetry, so so many phenomenon, so many social concepts, so many things are imaginatively brought alive. Of course, we know through the use of personification, but then in that sense, abstract notions, ideals, what we desire for in life, so much is brought alive, and it is put so succinctly in fewer words and lines as well.
Absolutely. So when I was attending this session, and it was like an open question which was put up on chat, and all of us were sharing our opinions. So for me, what was special about poetry, or is it that you can tell a story in a certain way? Like when I look at poems, I usually try to find what story is the poet trying to tell, or what kind of story I can create in my poems. So trying to mix two different styles together is poetry to me. Also, to not find too much explanation. That is also special about poetry. So once as a poet, you have documented something that you thought about, whether, as all of you said, whether you pick a certain theme or you use certain literary devices, a rhyme scheme or something, whatever is it that you documented, after that, it's up to the reader what meaning that reader took out of it. So that is something I felt was really special about poetry. So this particular question stayed a discussion-based question in the webinar. Although the resource person who was there, he talked about that one should not try to impose the speciality or the uniqueness of a certain poetry on students when you talk about classroom teaching. So usually what happens is that when we are teaching in our classes, we come with a certain notion about poetry, or we know that this is the theme, or this is how the poetry should flow. Only 2 to 3 or 4 meanings are possible in this particular line. So through the session, I got to know that it's one should allow children to talk about it before we start telling them. And I think a lot of us do that in our poetry classes. At least I do. So what is your experience of that in your classes?
Yes, I thoroughly, 100% agree with this, that the poetry is free to interpretation, free to different interpretations. A comma, full stop can be interpreted in a different way by each person. So it is open to interpretation. And that's why we should never give it in comprehension.
Absolutely. Also, any one of you, have you ever had an experience where a child was first looking at literary devices and then was bothered about what the poet is saying without even reading the poem? Just by glancing through, the child was only trying to figure out what are the poetic devices that he or she can actually take out from the poem.
No. I think the meaning should be conveyed, and then the child should be let loose to pick up the poetic devices, I think.
Okay. What about Gurvansh?
Actually, poetry, I feel it, a lot of imagery it promotes in the mind. So a word can have different interpretation for different people. So because so few words are used, so a lot is left to your imagination. So if, for example, I take the poem Road Not Taken. Such a beautiful poem. I mean, you can actually picturize, a fog, two roads diverging, and one is all full of dried leaves, one is all green. So that picturization, that imagery that comes into poetry because of use of so few words, is what is good about it, and what I like about it. And children also, if like you said, we should not be telling them the meaning. So if we read out the poem to them, or they just listen to the poem initially, and then you ask them, what do you understand, or what picture came to your mind, that will of course not limit their imagination.
Okay. Thank you, Gurvansh ma'am. Jyotin ma'am, what about you? What kind of experience do you have with your children regarding poetry? Do they figure out literary devices first, or they try to get
No,
into
no. Well, at least if you've posed the question, then I'm just safely assuming there must have been some odd or rare occasion that a child must have done it. I've not come across it. And in fact, what I have universally observed while teaching poetry is that children do enjoy it, do try to arrive at a critical appreciation and interpretation, even if it is of the lines or of the theme. And yes, it gives a teacher also a lot of scope to listen to variations on the theme or the interpretation. In fact, I've learned a lot about poems that I've taught from the students' lens view also.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. In my experience, specifically in class 8 and specifically class 8, there's this poem, The Listeners, which we are currently doing also. So there is alliteration in that poem. Okay. And that was the only literary device which children could easily identify. And as I've taught in the last 1.5 years, I observed that alliteration is the only literary device which students are easily able to identify. I don't know if it's the beauty of the consonant sound or the appearance of the consonant that they can actually identify, or they actually understand what alliteration means. So somewhere in the webinar, they were also talking about that there are certain literary devices which stay with students or people in general who write or appreciate poetry, but there are so many more which nobody looks at. And at times, as teachers, we also tend to overlook it, because for us, if it's a question that we need to prepare, and we have thought that, okay, in this line, the child will be able to identify a simile or a metaphor or symbolism or alliteration, it's good enough. So we also don't push them a little more to figure out what more literary devices could be there. So this example and this thought emerged from this webinar to me, that this is also an experience which I had. I think we should keep talking about different literary devices which are not so commonly used, because it so happens at times even we don't know when we are teaching it, but maybe some child could observe it and let the class know. So I think every time we start a poetry class, instead of first talking about the author or doing a read aloud of the poem, it's better if we can every time revise the different possible literary devices which are easily identifiable in a poem. So that was a takeaway from the webinar. What do you all think? Is it something that we can do?
I think by 9th, 10th, they are conversant. That, I mean, my goal till the end of 10th classes, they are thorough and identify easily 10 poetic devices.
Okay.
So
Also, do you believe that every poem has a possibility of at least 7 to 8 poetic devices?
not
Or
necessarily.
not necessary. Okay.
Not necessarily. Some of them are very, very simple. But Tanya, wasn't it raised in this webinar that even personification can be spotted very easily? I mean, in my experience, I've had students who kind of, will pick up on something which has been personified, other than, of course, alliteration. And
Personification of objects and animals specifically, nothing more. That too, which is relatable and knowable to them. Matlab, it's not like alliteration is this, they see two words starting with the same alphabets and they're out there shouting in the class that it's alliteration. At times, it's not even alliteration in a line. So this is what, like, that was discussed when other teachers were also writing their experiences, etc. So a lot of these webinars, we only get the experience to communicate through chat, so you can't speak much. So that is what came up. But I absolutely agree with the idea of personification, because that is also something they learn very early in their life, that personification is a device to identify very easily when they're reading the poems. Okay, so moving to the second bit, which is how do we help learners appreciate poems? A lot, many times it's observed that we have had very good poetry classes, but not many students were able to appreciate or enjoy that class. For them, it was either listening of the teacher or maybe just, making notes, or not even doing that. So here, appreciation of poetry not only about what the poet has written, but also from their examination point of view and in their life, what is it that they're taking away? So what ideas can we discuss related to that when it comes to appreciation of poetry in our classroom?
I think, Tanya, broadly speaking, making it relatable.
Okay.
Like, there is a poem which is so to say, it's just replete with poetic devices in grade 10, keeping quiet. Okay. So, fortunately, we took this poem, I think possibly in the month of May, when we had just entered lockdown. And lockdown, of course, how we were all being told that we should appreciate it for, giving us family time, all right, getting us accustomed to this period of quietude. So I quickly connected to that. And I elicited a good, response from the students, their interpretation of keeping quiet. Of course, COVID engendered, but then what was this period of keeping quiet in their life, all right, allowing them to do? How were they able to listen to certain, all right, sounds and everything, appreciate, so much more in life, which they had missed out simply because they were rushing from their classes to tuitions to hanging out with friends or whatever goes on in a student life. So I feel it really, really helps to go beyond the themes and the central message defined by the poet, and obviously find real life linkage.
Okay. Okay. Gurvansh ma'am, what about you? How do you think we can bring about this appreciation in students, which is not just limited to writing the correct answer, but actually getting to the feel of the poem and applying it in life?
I think the regular, the way we have poetry in our curriculum, it's pretty evenly distributed now. So that helps. Every lesson, like we see in our 9th books, every lesson has a poetry attached.
Yeah.
So quite a bit is already there. I think has been done. And besides this, of course, making them having competitions at. There was something that in our times used to happen was poetry recitation.
Recitations, yeah.
And yeah, so which has absolutely stopped now. We hardly have any competitions for children for poetry recitation. So if we can have such competitions, that will encourage them to appreciate poetry, where they can write or their own poetry or even recite.
It's 3:30.
Absolutely. Has Padmini ma'am joined?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
she's there.
Just now.
Okay.
So,
So, ma'am, yeah.
I caught on what you were talking about. To me, teaching poetry in person, there is nothing which matches that. Your gestures, the way you carry your voice. I remember teaching to a combined section of 10th, the Julius Caesar's detailed one, Mark Antony's speech, when he says, and pin drop silence. I had about 60 of them. Pin drop silence. With each sentence, Mark Antony comes up with saying, Brutus, but Brutus is a noble man. Brutus is a noble man. I did not have to explain anything there. Somewhere your body language, the appreciation comes from that fact, the appreciation of poetry. So,
Absolutely. So through the webinar, they focused upon, I think, which we all know, but at times probably we don't get too much time to apply, that is that whatever poetry or poet is prescribed in the curriculum, we should also look at 2 to 3 parallel poems of that poet in the classroom. So if we are explaining one particular poem which is prescribed in the classroom, we have done a detailed class on that. We have explained everything that was there. We have discussed. After that, at least 2 to 3 poems by that poet should be discussed or should be let open in the class. It could be a team activity. It could be a group activity where, depending upon the strength of the class, we can divide them, ask them to come up with their own interpretation of a poem they chose, and things like that. So maybe this would also help generate specific interest in poetry and taking it beyond the classroom as well. So I felt that was a good idea, but I think it's not applicable with every poet that we do. Maybe we can take such activities in our class week that we do, or maybe for art integration or on certain open learning days. But I don't think so that it's possible to take up for every poet in every poetry class that we have. What do you think?
Tanya, even I feel, an author's personal life, if it is discussed, especially poets, that has a lot of influence on reading their poetry. So
Absolutely.
If I find something connecting, because most of the poets, their personal life somewhere connects to the poems.
Yeah.
At times it doesn't, but yes, But that angle, if you can build that their poetry and their actual life has a common thread, that leads to a lot of interest. And children also want to learn more about it, what other poems that poet has written, how, where is the connect. So I think telling about their personal life, a little bit about the poet, also helps them appreciate poetry.
I think that we all are usually doing beyond the textbook also, because all of us coming from a literature background, we have
Right.
thoroughly, we are in awe of all these
Right.
poets and authors that we have read. So there's
Yes.
always so much more
Yes.
that we end up giving to the children beyond what they should know for their age. So I think that all as a department, I feel everybody's doing that in their own capacity.
No, it's not only personal life, it is also the age in which they would have written matters a lot, the era
Yes.
in which they would
So
have
their
lived.
personal details, yeah, that's what I meant. The personal details, I mean, about the poet, a little bit about that generates interest.
Absolutely. Also, at times for certain poems, we always have a background as to how the poet reached towards writing that particular poem. So, sharing that story also helps, that how the poet thought about it and things like that. So, I think we'll be able to reach this goal as well if we are not already able to. But I feel 60 to 70% we're actually reaching out to our kids, because we have so many students who are writing self-composed poems. They just share it with us on a daily basis or otherwise, that this is something I wrote. So I think we're doing a good job. I feel personally that when we teach poems, we are really doing a lot of justice to it, and we're not just giving out summaries or themes of poem. We really get into it, into the feel of it. It's a very passionate class which happens when it's specifically a poetry class. Like, at least that's my experience. I would like you all to share as well. How is your, like, do you feel the same zeal and passion when you are into specifically a poetry class?
Not necessarily. I mean, it depends on how deep the poem is.
Okay.
So it can the same kind of passionate or the attention of all, both the teacher and the learner, it is there even if in a prose too.
Yeah, of course, of course. But here, since we are largely talking about poems, so yeah,
Huh.
that, yeah.
Poem, then I would need somebody as great as Shakespeare then to drive the point home. That they have unfortunately chosen to pick out and throw it away.
Yeah. What about
The
you, Vansh ma'am and Jyotin ma'am?
I absolutely feel
Tanya?
that they are. Sorry, yes, Jyotin ma'am,
No,
you
no,
can
no,
continue.
Gurvansh ma'am, not at all. Please, first you complete, ma'am.
It's okay, ma'am. Please. Okay, fine. So yeah, I feel it's a different atmosphere in the classroom when we are teaching poetry. It's not that heavy. It's on a lighter side. At the same time, that curiosity to know more. If it's an interesting poem, again, I'm not talking about free verse, but if it's something, or like we have gone through, we have done Legend of Northland.
Yeah.
That was a different experience. Road Not Taken was a different experience. Listeners was a different experience. So
Yeah.
a lot of different kind of experiences come up when you are teaching poetry, and children do seem to have that ear for it, and they do take interest in it, and that makes it more interesting to teach poetry in the class.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Jyotin ma'am?
So I'll take it further from what Padmini ma'am said, that teaching a poem or teaching a prose or a drama, ma'am particularly mentioned, Julius Caesar, simply maybe because of the impassioned way in which ma'am would have read the speech that she held the entire. She said she had a audience of 60 students. So if she could kind of have them in a thrall, so obviously somewhere it's the passion of the teacher also delivering the speech, because even the speech can fall flat if the person making it. So right now in class 11, I personally, that's a very very personal and subjective opinion, Tanya, there's a poem which I consider to be very lightweight. Okay, we've just taught it, Padmini ma'am and I. I consider it to be very lightweight and particularly not appropriate for class 11. So my own teaching was not the same as it was for an earlier poem, equally short, but more meaningful and more emotional, that I had even kids, they saw me wipe a tear and they said, ma'am, it's okay. And then like, ma'am, then don't take up sad poems in the beginning, no, of the session or whatever. So a short poem and the way it ended, even on a melancholic note, aroused so much of, all right, emotions and discussion in the class. So one, of course, the not, I mean, we also know, like, not all poets and their poetries are also included in syllabus. So a lot depends upon the poem, the prose, the text, and then, of course, all right, the competence and the passion of the person teaching it as well. So here, I don't think there would be a great distinction between teaching a poem and prose, because both, in the sense, can, all right, be taught passionately or impersonally.
Okay.
No, no, I'll give you another example. Charge
Yeah.
of the Light Brigade. And
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
again, pin drop silence. And I thought I was doing a fabulous job there. Then I asked them the interpretation. Again, silence. Then one voice somewhere at the back of the class says, "It's boring." Eh? I said, so, and it is actually one of the most what do you call, very motivational poems.
Hmm.
So some there, some you get it, sometimes you don't get it.
Alright. Okay. So moving to the last aspect of the webinar, which was how do we develop the creative writing skills? And of course, this was majorly focused specifically on poetry, but we can extend the discussion further here. So when they were talking about creative writing specifically in context of poetry, the suggestions which came up from the resource person was that, once we do a poem in a certain class, we move on with that poem. Although in certain boards, etc., the poet is repeated and a different poem is there in the next year or the following year. So the suggestion was, why not allow children to take the theme that they've understood and create something of their own? Even though, like as Padmini ma'am said in the beginning, that she doesn't consider 2 lines to be poem, but I think even that could be considered. That was a discussion that came to this logic that, whatever a child can produce after having learned something from the classroom session, that is what the way is towards creative writing. So
Is listen, haiku can be good in Japanese. It may yes, but
yeah,
the same thought is difficult to convey it in English.
yeah.
So I would
So
still
there
stick to
could
saying.
be difference of opinion. It's like how do we encourage them to create something original? Is where the idea is coming from. Yeah, I think, ma'am, you wanted to say something.
I just wanted to say that with writing poetry, there is some sort of a hesitation
Yeah,
that is there compared to writing, any other which is prose-based creative writing. With poetry, general impression is that you require certain skills to
yeah,
write poetry, and if you don't have them, then you cannot write. So
absolutely.
that thing has to be broken. That false thing has to be broken into, and made children have to be made to feel that even writing poetry is not. You don't require such special skills to do it. You can attempt it, and you can keep on rewriting till you are able to achieve what you are actually trying to say. So it's not a one take thing. So
Absolutely.
they should be encouraged to write more poetry also, which again, there is a barrier there, which we have to help them overcome.
Absolutely. Also, I think this was one of the activities we did last year as well. I think in the summer holiday homework, where we gave a chapter to them and asked them to interpret or write in any of the creative writing formats. So it's not that we are not doing it at school level at different classes, but I think somehow with every lesson and every poem that we complete or any new theme that we touch, I think we should encourage students more to come up with their original writing pieces. It could be in any form. It could be a diary entry, a letter, or an essay, or even uh, couple of lines or few lines, say 7 to 8 lines, we can just tell them how to go about that. So I think it would really start making them interested in the process of writing, which we face a lot of problem with, that they only think they'll write on the day of exam and not before that. So this probably would also help us somewhere, that their thought process starts and they start thinking about what it is like to go about things. Other suggestion was, which came from the resource person. Suppose we say The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost is a popular poem, everybody knows it. Once you have taught or once they are aware, just ask them to rewrite it with the same meaning. You know, the ultimate meaning should come out in the same way about the two choices that you have to make in life, but choose some other words or some other analogy to say the same thing. So that could also hone or, you know, catch up their interest in a certain way. So if you have something more,
Sure. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. Or decoding ambiguous and double meaning titles only, like The Road Not Taken. I think the most animated discussion ensues over the title only.
Yeah.
The road, yeah, right. The road not travel is like, not traveled by him or not traveled by most users. Okay, and then only we take off the
Yeah.
reading of the poem. Yeah, that's a very good suggestion. One can do
Yeah.
that.
So I think that is something we can try out maybe when we have a practical or a some time, which is when we're done with our course, maybe,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
maybe as we progress. So we can allot that kind of an activity and try on our own basis if it works with our set of students that we have.
exactly. Yes, yes, exactly. Or as a wrap up
Batch is
activity.
different, and you know, each class is different in their own way. So yeah, so that was about the poetry bit. I just jotted down some points which either I was in agreement or disagreement with. Just let's have a look. So they suggested, don't indulge in line by line explanation of poetry. This is something we have to do, I feel, because ultimately, apart from appreciation and etc., we also are preparing them for an examination. So if we don't indulge into line by line explanation after a point, like we can devote a class on having group discussions, getting their own ideas, etc. But I think ultimately, if we don't indulge in this process as teachers, we will not be doing justice to students who are not able to think beyond a certain level or to think even at a certain level. So, what do you think about the first point?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That in the sense we can alternate between the two. That somewhere in the sense we share the theme, and or maybe allow them also to interpret the theme, and then we have a quick discussion and then an explanation. But we definitely have to have a line by line explanation, because I'm sure CBSE is talking about critical appreciation, inference, and interpretation, but it's not going to be completely out of context
Yeah,
and out of text. If there
yeah,
is nothing, all right, if there is nothing related to The Road Not Taken or my mother at 66, I mean, we also know ultimately that own child's, all right,
hmm,
performance is going to dip. So
absolutely.
there has to be obviously some contextual and textual connections.
Another point which we've already discussed is that students must figure their own understanding, which can happen either at the beginning, like once we have not taught per se the lesson, when it's in the discussion phase, this point can be taken care of. Then literary devices should be thoroughly discussed. Again, this is something we have been doing, we time and again revise. So again, maybe we can take it up a little bit more seriously every time we begin with the class of specifically a poem. That, you know, if we are doing say three to four poems back to back, maybe one class, or say 10 to 15 minutes, firstly we devote towards revising or recapping literary devices. It doesn't mean that we need to show a PPT or something. It could just come out of discussion from the class itself. And then if they have not mentioned a certain device which we feel is an important one, we can tell them, and this is how it can be recapped for everyone. Or we can do a Google form time and again, something like that, which is good and applicable for everyone. So that this is one technical element of poetry which everybody should be thorough with, especially till class 10th, as Padmini ma'am said, that they are grown up enough to understand how poetry works. And it can't work without literary devices. Okay. Again, the next point is that they should be able to discover the themes, etc., which will again come with better understanding and participation in poetry. A last point is self-paced learning of poetry should be encouraged. I found this statement debatable, so we can have a discussion around this. How do we define self-paced learning of poetry?
I think simply by having the students to discuss their own understanding of the poem, their own interpretation, their own exploration of the theme before we follow with a detailed paraphrasing or explanation of poetry.
Okay.
Because after all, everything is now going to be a self-directional and student based in this new competency based education that we are talking about. So
Yeah.
this, I feel, would very soon be a necessity.
Okay.
We would have to take out time, we would have to allow it, we would have to, all right, take out time for students in the sense who are slow paced.
Yeah.
I wish to say that maybe art can be it can be integrated easily, but then it struck me that not all the children can draw.
Yeah.
So if you interpret a poetry in pictures, in images, in drawings, that is self-paced learning. But again, as I said, not everybody can draw. I can imagine very well, but I cannot draw.
Maybe we can use storyboarding. So now we're in the digital phase. So you can just find pictures that you feel are relevant to your imagination and put it together. Maybe that would also make sense. So they can storyboard their poetic
Poetic interpretation.
Yeah, maybe they could do that. Gurvansh ma'am, any opinion on this?
Yes, if they are encouraged to read poetry beyond their curriculum, yeah, it can definitely be self-paced. That they can do, so where books are assigned to them for reading, leisure reading, like in summer break, we tell them this is a list of books, you read whichever you want to. So similarly, poetry can also be assigned and let them study it at their own pace, which is not part of the curriculum. Extra poetry reading, they can definitely, that can be encouraged. It can be related to, like we discussed before, the authors that they have already done one poem of.
Yeah.
So that will generate interest to read more poems. So that, yes, that can help in self-paced learning. Definitely.
Okay. So my objection came from the point, if you're strictly looking at, say, a CBSE curriculum, which we all teach, if we allow every child to go at their own pace to learn and interpret the poem, we will never be able to finish the course or understand whether the child has understood the poem or not. So somewhere there has to be a self-paced or a student-paced and teacher-paced balance that we need to attain, so that both the parties can be equally placed in the classroom. We are facilitators, we are no longer teachers per se, but somewhere I think this balance needs to be made if we need to follow this new strategy, which we will have to in the NEP that is to come, that we are allowing students to be at their pace, but with what strategy, that is something we need to think of specifically for poems. And there are certain poems in curriculum which are not so easy to interpret for students as well, even though they can discuss or beat around the bush as much as they want. But then after a point, we need to guide them in a certain direction to think about or think on the lines of what the poet was trying to say. So I think this is something we can deliberate a little more in the times to come, if at all we want to encourage this.
This was exactly the point why I said for extra reading, they can have self-paced learning, but not for the curriculum thing.
Yeah.
Because then they'll be doing it at a different pace. Everyone working on a different pace will be difficult. That can only be done for extra poetry reading.
Yeah. So maybe not for our curriculum at this point in time.
Okay. Right.
Even otherwise, with all this highbrow talk about competency-based education, because I've completed that Diksha online course also, and Gurvansh ma'am, Tanya, Padmini ma'am, it's fairly interesting. So if you want to do any other course, go in for those two modules. Very, very. Okay, so coming back to that, and maybe because for a particular article that I'm writing for a law faculty in Jodhpur, you know, uh, NEP is just talking about competency-based building up critical and assessment. How are you going to? I mean, after all, let's just face it. Right now, CBSE, the fear of CBSE is the fear of the CBSE answer key. Right? We all know what we are talking about, right, Tanya? Padmini ma'am, Devansh ma'am. All right.
Yes.
You get them to toe the line by saying, no, wonderful, good answer, great interpretation, but it won't be in the answer key. You bring them back again on the conventional lines. So,
Yeah.
NEP is all silent about it. You're saying off assessment or assessment sounds very nice as assessment, but then exactly, are you going to really give that much of leverage in the assessment and in the answer key? If a child, all right, from self-paced learning has only understood 40% and his interpretation is a divergent, all right, is completely, all right, out of sync with what is the poet or the conventional, then what are you going to do? But correctly, the child has thought critically. The child has, in the sense, exhibited all the 21st skills you're talking about, but they're all unconventional. Then what are you going to do with them?
Absolutely.
Right?
That's
I
a
mean,
question to
that has
ponder.
to be mapped out. Yes, absolutely. And then I
That
shouldn't.
is the
You have to make it clear to the teachers. You have to make, and then in the sense, if we are doing all this, then are we going to have, all right, that syllabus completion status always hovering over our heads? We have so many drones over our heads, no? Syllabus completion.
that is so true,
And
especially
you
in
can't
math.
even blame your seniors and the school, because they also have to go by CBSE deadlines. If, all right, the coordinators are saying, board teachers, please complete by November, they are not just doing it, all right, to pressurize us. They also have deadlines to meet. They have also been told that the board teachers have to be notified well in time. So, in
Yeah.
the sense, that's what I'm saying, no? After all, there has to be a tectonic change even in the in the mind sets of the think tank also, no? They also have to come up with answers to this.
So the crux of the matter is the assessment system has to change.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes.
For a lot of these practices to come into our everyday
Yes, that's the bottom line. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so this was about the larger discussion which I learned from the webinar and shared with you. I had put up this poem thinking that there will not be much to discuss and we'll come to this poem and interpret it in our own ways. I think maybe you can take a screenshot of it and maybe in the next department meeting, if we go
Okay.
ahead with the same idea, we can discuss it. I think we should not invest a lot of time. There are a couple more things which I would like to share.
Okay.
So you maybe take a screenshot of this and try and interpret in your
Okay.
own way and see how you figure this poem out. I think a lot of you might have figured out what the poem is in my home. I purposely removed the poet's name. So, so this is something you can explore. Or maybe we can take it up together in the next department meeting. Okay. So moving to the next thing is classroom engagement ideas. This is another webinar. So basically when I was preparing this presentation, I thought I'll club all the webinars that I've attended, but I've realized you can only talk about one at a time. So this was one of the second webinars, which was in general, not specific to English or literature, but general ideas which can be incorporated in arts and language classrooms or language and social studies classrooms. Okay, so one is of course memory games that we can play, quizzes that we can play, being the quiz master. Either we could be the quiz master or one of the students could be. Using different visualizing techniques, which we all do through flow charting or using Canva or Venn diagrams and timelines, etc. There could be a teacher challenge which we should do. This is something, of course, it happens to us, but then just making it a specific task where we get students to compose questions for us. Right now what happens is they ask their doubts, or ma'am, is this line, if you could repeat again, or what is the meaning of this word, but they do not actually get into an in-depth questioning. So maybe we can assign this as a task that you create certain questionnaire to be discussed in the classroom. Of course, here it suggests teachers challenge, but we can make it a classroom challenge. which I feel will be really good and for every topic as we go by. Then focusing upon highlights and features. So 5 features is what was suggested, that we can ask students to summarize a lesson in 5 sentences or 5 keywords. So that could be a takeaway for each individual student as well as the entire class. And there's also engagement. Okay. So at times it happens, you would have observed, when we're having a good discussion, some children start saying, then yeah, same as the other person said. And then we say that, why don't you have an idea of your own or an opinion of your own? And they don't say anything, and we also move on. So I think we should glue to that particular child and try and, push that child a little more to think of features. When we put 5, at least they'll come up with 2. Somebody who doesn't speak at all. So this is something we can do. Then word maths, I think this is as good as crossword, which Padmini ma'am does it. So I think these were few ideas which popped up, and I felt these are doable ideas in our language classroom.
And nice ring to it, word mat.
I was blown with the teacher challenge, and then I extended it further to the classroom challenge, because we have to answer all the questions. What will the students do?
Yeah.
So so I felt that this is a good challenge, but it should be a classroom challenge, not a teacher challenge, because any which we are answering everything that they are doing. So I guess, yeah. So that's about it for today. So these were from 2 webinars that I've tried to bring in for our session here. And there's many more that we can go about. So that's it for today. Should I stop recording?
Yeah, stop recording.
So thank you so much, everyone, for participating and listening. Thank you.
Thank you